It is my pleasure to introduce you to someone who knows a very great deal about the world's greatest growth region, someone who wrestles daily with complex opportunity in 54 countries. And I will introduce you to someone who is skilled in asking questions, getting answers, and doing so without appearing to. Ladies and gentlemen, we're privileged to hear from one of Africa's leading investors and philanthropists, Tony Elumelu, and from Francine Lacroix, who will host a conversation. Welcome, Francine. Welcome, Tony.
Welcome, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's good to be here with you all, to see the faces of people who are going to change the world. I'd like to start by congratulating my friend, Jeff, and Sally for doing such an amazing job. They are wise people, wise men and women. They recognize the power of the people in this room, the people to whom the future of the world belongs, and people who have a key role, as Jeff and I believe, to play in shaping the world and helping to meet most of mankind's needs. I was invited to share some thoughts or as inspiration to you or with you. And I reflected when I got the invitation what I could be saying to people who already have become entrepreneurs and aspiring to whom become more successful. But I felt that the best way is to share a little of my own personal experience. They say experience is the best teacher. So I'd like to share a brief experience how we started a journey, as I believe some of you have started or are in the process of starting. And this was I was 30 then, and I'm told the average age of people in this hall, 25. So you are even starting much earlier than I did. But I was originally a banker. I operated as a banker at a time the industry was expanding. At a time we had, in my country, Nigeria, over 100 banks. And I felt that there would come a time that the banks, or some of the banks, could become challenged. And there was a need to position ourselves to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that will unfold. And this came to pass. And when it happened, we were ready. We took advantage by investing and turning around at least one of the banks. We grew that bank from a near distressed floundering bank to become one of the five top banks in the country under a period of 10 years. And subsequently, we merged this bank with the third largest bank in the country, and we created the biggest bank in the country, with branches then of about 420. And from that bank, we grew that bank into a Pan-African bank that today has presence in 19 African countries, presence in the UK, presence in Paris, and presence in New York. We did this because of some, shall I say, attributes or factors I'd like to share with you. First is the power of foresight. You need to be able to see beyond today, because it is in trying to see beyond today that you create a unique business opportunity, an advantage. And if you're able, beyond seeing, to now actualize it by working hard, then it makes it a lot easier again. So first message by way of inspiration is that as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, we need to have the ability to see beyond today. We need to understand our environment and see what could be the future of the environment. Understanding that, being able to say this could happen, if you get it right, you would have created huge opportunities. But the second thing is purpose. So you dream without purpose, or a journey without purpose to a large extent is a waste of time. So you have a purpose beyond the foresight to say, okay, this is what we would do. So we saw that there would be opportunity in the banking industry at the time, and we said, when this opportunity, what would be the opportunity served? There could be crisis, and the industry will need solution. And so let's groom and prepare ourselves to be the solution provider for the industry, hence the turnaround. So purpose, very important, to you. And the third thing is hard work. You can't have the foresight, the purpose, if you're not able to match that with hard work. It just will die like that. So we worked very hard. And again, as entrepreneurs, I need not tell you this. At times, there's no difference between your job, what you're trying to do or what you're doing, and your personal life. At this stage, it's almost always like that. And the next thing is beyond dreaming, or beyond the foresight, beyond the purpose, beyond the hard work, is to think long term. So we thought long term. We were thinking what will happen in 10 years, in 20 years. When we started, we did not define success in the short term. We defined success in the long term. To us, success was helping to democratize banking, helping to create financial access to people, a continent that didn't have huge or impressive financial access. So that long term continues to guide even what I do to date. And I believe for most successful business people, short-termism does not really help so much. So my word to you today is, in everything you do, let's think beyond the immediate and think long-term. But as you think long-term, it's good to have quick wins or milestones, because the milestones keep you on focus. The milestones help you to understand whether or not you're on track. So it's good to have milestones within that long-term horizon that you're looking at. And next one is impact. So beyond the milestone, the long-term perspective, you need to ask yourself, and I guess for social entrepreneurs, you understand this better than I do, what impact do I want to create here? Impact defined the way you like. So for us, when we started, the impact was, first, we wanted to democratize banking, because having banking account was like a status symbol. And we needed to make this in a country then of today 171 million people, then we were about 120 million people. People who owned bank accounts were less than 5 million. We saw opportunity here, but we thought, we saw opportunity here, but we also saw it as a good cause to pursue, to help democratize banking. And it's on record that in some countries, when we decided to expand, we opened bank accounts with zero account balances because we wanted to create access. We wanted people to have access to bank accounts. We wanted to change lifestyle to a large extent. And the second impact, they're all related, is in Africa at the time, in my country, Nigeria at the time, if your child, Paul, was schooling in a particular state, you would have to physically go there to give Paul money, or Paul would have to come to you. So we needed to improve the payment system. We wanted to create ubiquity. We wanted people to have access to banking, to payments, without necessarily have to live in their offices. We deployed technology to achieve this. So for us, the impact we wanted to achieve was so important to us, and we realized that this impact, if we achieve it, it will help us. We will make more money, but we would have touched society in very significant ways. Today, this bank has, as I said before, operations in more than 19 African countries, and we have customers at excess of 8 million. Nigeria alone at the time had bank customers that was less than 5 million. So to you, entrepreneurs, I'd like to commend and advise or propose or suggest what personally I have experienced in my previous life as a banker. But it didn't end there. This previous life has significantly influenced what I do today. I believe in a concept that I shared with Jeff not too long ago, a concept of Afro-capitalism. Afro-capitalism is a call on the private sector in Africa to invest long-term, to play a key role in helping to develop the continent. For a long time, we've called on government, or everyone blames government for lack of development on the continent. But we, the private sector, also have a role to play. So Afro-capitalism is a call on the private sector to be involved in helping to develop the continent through what we know how to do as private sector people, that's investing. Through investment in long-term investments, again, bringing that long-term perspective that we had at the time, long-term investment in key sectors that can help to create both economic prosperity and social wealth. That is what I preach, and that is one of the reasons I'm here. I believe that the future of this world, to a large extent, is in the hands of the private sector. And the private sector is driven largely by entrepreneurs, yourselves, people who are in this room. 2 days ago, I was at the United Nations to talk further, discuss about the role of the private sector in the post-2015 MDG. I shared with the audience what I think the private sector should be doing and how private sector should engage with the public sector, the NGOs, to create a better society. It is true that people used to say that private sector is driven by other motives. But indeed, we see a convergence between what is good for private sector and what is good for everyone, for mankind. And so for yourselves as entrepreneurs, this belief in the ability of the private sector to help change the world is one you should own. It's one you should work towards. It's one we should, in every activity, every action of ours, we must demonstrate that in private sector, we're driven by values, and that today's private sector believes that you do not have to do well before you do good, that you can do well and do good simultaneously. I believe in this, and I have dedicated the second phase of my life to making sure that we create, my colleagues and I at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, that we continue to work to create more Tony Elumelus, more entrepreneurs out of Africa, and that we give all the support they need to succeed, and that we make sure that they can compete with entrepreneurs from other parts of the world. would like to see this kind of event hold in Africa with young entrepreneurs all over the place trying to conquer the world and to connect hands with yourselves. Soon, we shall be launching a certain initiative in this space of entrepreneurship to enable aspiring African entrepreneurs realize and fulfill their passion for success in this field. I'd like to end here, but to wish all of you greater successes and self-inspiration, not from me, self-inspiration, realizing that what we do in our respective lines of endeavors can help make the world a better place. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage news anchor and editor-at-large for Bloomberg Television, Francine Lacroix.
That was great. Well done. What a pleasure to share the stage with Mr. Elumelu. Thank you so much. It was a very inspiring speech. And I think my first question, you believe private sector is the way forward, right? That means we need more entrepreneurs. Was there ever a moment in your life where you thought, this is hard, it's hard being an entrepreneur, I don't have the support, or it's difficult getting funds? And how did you personally overcome that difficult moment?
Can you hear me? Okay. For the journey to entrepreneurship is not a linear journey. It's not always moving in the same direction. You have the tough times. In our organization, the name of our organization is called S Holdings. S is an acronym for our core values, and the R in our S acronym is resilience. Resilience is key in business. And I've had series. What you see at the end of the day for successful business people is this end point, end product, the success. But before you go there, a lot, you know. But so there's not enough time to share all the failures or the personal experiences that didn't go well. But all I want to say is you do and you would encounter difficulties in your journey. That is why it should be a long-term journey. And that is why we embrace resilience as one of our core values. When you face those difficult moments, those moments when you cannot sleep at night, thinking, some it could be hard to pay the next salary, some it could be hard to pay certain bills that you need settled to be able to move to the next stage. Remember what I'm saying today. There's R in S. There's R that you must embrace, and that R is resilience.
Resilience is probably one of the most difficult things to of course, embrace and overcome. Is there anything that you can also do, or that we as society should do as a step before that, to make sure that people start being entrepreneurs and then test their resilience?
No, it's true. So when I founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation in 2010, one of the things we decided to do is, it's like the concept of the basis and the superstructure. Before entrepreneurs will succeed, you need to create the enabling environment for entrepreneurs to succeed. That is why statistically, there are some regions of the world that are prone to producing more entrepreneurs than other regions, because the enabling environment is predisposes or helps people to succeed. In Africa, where I come from, it's good, work, live, born, and everything in Africa is even more challenging. And so if I speak, you understand more, because if you succeed in Africa, you can succeed everywhere or anywhere else. What we did was to create what we call we worked with the government to create the National Competitiveness Council of Nigeria, because we realized that first things first, you must create the right environment if businesses must succeed. And businesses, there are a lot of challenges in succeeding, especially in that part of the world. But what is important is not just that problems exist. Problems that exist could actually become a competitive advantage if you know how to deal with those problems. So don't give up, resilience, and let us, Jeff, myself, and other people who are endowed, we should, if we are truly committed to helping create entrepreneurs. We should all be involved in helping to create the right environment that will make entrepreneurs to succeed. Because if we don't create the right environment for entrepreneurs to succeed, it will be very difficult for them to succeed.
It's very true. I was going to ask you about the other acronyms. You have R for resilience.
Yes. So
which one are the other ones?
The first, HEIR. H is hard work, which I shared with you. E is emotional intelligence. In today's world, we have seen that social intelligence, emotional intelligence is good for success, both intra and inter relationships. The other one is integrity, I. It's very important to display transparency, integrity. You know, you make promise, you deliver on promise, especially if you're dealing with customers and co. Then the R is resilience, and S is synergies. You know, you must operate synergistically, especially if you're running more than one business. So that is actually the name of our organization, S Holdings. The S is what I just described, the acronym.
And so the resilience, does it also include failure? Because when we speak to a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs, it's the ones that actually said, I failed, but I got up, and it was a badge of honor to fail, because that taught me maybe more than when I always succeeded.
You know, I think most businesses, you always have failure, difficult moments. That's when I say difficult challenges moments, either failed business and you start a new one, or failed initiatives. You might say, you know, I want to do this in this way. And it could be a competitive strategy, it could be a tactical strategy, but the important thing is, I want to do this, and you fail in that area, you learn from that, and you fail in that area. I tell you one instance. When we were expanding, because at some point in 2005, we decided to turn the bank into a Pan-African bank to be able to fulfill the impact mission that we had at the time. And so my philosophy was the market is huge, it's there, we're driven by this purpose to democratize and this and that, let's run very fast and let's recruit this and that. But I found out that we had culture issues because we were growing so fast, you know, culture issues. So what I did was to create a UB Academy, and now we recruit to bring people to the training school. We train them like 3 months and try to adapt in terms of culture, make sure that we blended the culture as much as possible, because after a certain age, it's more difficult to change culture. It's easier when you start a new business, you grow with people, and they'll get to talk together. That you have culture that is cohesive. But when you get different people to support the growth of the institution at some stage, you have different cultures. So that was a major issue. I talk about it, people might think, is that a challenge? But it was a challenge, because if I had the wrong culture in an organization, it can actually destroy the spirit of an organization. So culture was one of the challenges we had. Now, how did I deal with that subsequently? I told you what I did. And we slowed down also growth at some point so that we don't grow too fast, that we'll not be able to integrate the cultures. So those are some of the challenges. But you do have challenges in business, a lot.
Therefore, the creative thinking is essential. Mr. Elumelu, thank you so much. Running out of